Am I on? Yep, thank you. I hope I'm audible. So, a very good afternoon to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very interesting topic here. Actually, it's a very paining topic in malls. That is the big billion malls of India. So, a billion rupees is 100 crores. So, there are malls and then there are malls. So, we are talking about the latter. So 100 crores a month is 1,200 crores per annum. So this is about the malls who do that business. They do 100 crores a month and 1,200 crores per annum average monthly sale, 100 crores and 1,200 crores as the annual sale. So this is the topic. It's when I was given this opportunity to host a session, I couldn't think about anything else but this topic, very close to my heart. And so I'm going to break this into three parts very quickly. One is I'm going to share a story. Second, I'm going to share some statistics which will create the context, and then we will break into these gentlemen here who are part of the Big Billion Club, directly or indirectly. And so the story is as this. 22 years back, I was leasing a mall in Bangalore, the Forum Mall in Koramangala, one of the first malls of India. And fresh out of college, and when I used to take retailers there, I was finding it challenging to lease those stores. We had 77 stores. We still have 77 stores in Forum Koramangala. That mall became an iconic mall, very successful mall, talked about mall in India. It's just 3.5 lakh square feet, 77 stores. But we were finding it challenging to lease out because it was the first mall. And guess what? The rentals that we were trying to achieve at that time was 70 rupees on ground floor, 60 rupees per square feet per month on first floor, and 40 rupees per square feet per month on second floor. We have only 3 floors. So, of course, one floor is with PVR, so ground first and second. 60 rupees, 50 rupees a square feet per month, and 40 rupees on second floor per square feet per month. This was the rental expectation. And we were struggling. So closer to the mall opening, we have West Side doing fit-outs. We have 11-screen PVR, the largest multiplex in the country for the first time, doing fit-outs. Yet, I had some stores which were not leased, and we were still finding it challenging, and we couldn't increase our rates to 70, 80 because we still had stores vacant. Fast forward 22 years, guess what is the rent in Forum Koramangala now? Sorry? Add a zero, okay? Add a zero, and that's the rent that we still own a part of that mall. And in fact, there are a few stores in that mall, smaller stores, whose rentals are 1,500 rupees a square feet a month, 1,500 rupees. So how do you justify this movement? Like, I was struggling to lease it at 40, 50 rupees, and today, 1,500 rupees. So is it inflation, or is it escalation, 15% every 3 years, keep multiplying, and after 21 years, you reach 1,500? Or is it the present value of money that what 60 rupees was 22 years back is worth 1,500 bucks? None of the above. You can do your maths. That's not the reason why it has jumped to such a large number or such a large rent. The only reason why we are able to demand that rent, and malls in India who are demanding this rent, is by the single most important factor, that is the business that retailers do from that space. So we opened, of course, we had the humble beginning. So what a 10 lakh square feet, a 10 lakh rupees a month sale was big. Today we have stores in our malls, a 2,000 square feet store in Forum South Bangalore, the newest mall that we opened, a 2,000 square feet denim store doing 1 crore a month. Now, when a store does 1 crore a month, a 2,000 square feet store does 1 crore a month, you take about 14% of sale as rent divided by 2,000 and you have your number. So the only justification for charging this rent or this substantial growth has been the business. That is the single most and easy to measure, easy to agree upon number which everybody defines the success of a particular mall. So now coming back to the second part, the statistics about the big billion. So Shopping Center Association of India, whom we are all members of, have about 600 malls registered. And then there are a few more. If I add others who are not registered, we have about 1,000 malls in India, of which we have done our calculation. There are 28 malls only, 28 malls who do 1,200 crores per annum. That is 100 crores a month, a billion rupees a month. And we call them part of the big billion club. So these are the malls who do 1,200 crores and above. Only 28 out of 1,000. In fact, in whole city of Bangalore, there are only 3 malls who do 100 crores a month. In whole city of Mumbai, we just did the calculation and we cross-checked. There are only 5 malls in the whole city of Mumbai who do 100 crores a month. There are about 40 malls in Mumbai, 35 malls. In whole Chennai, such a big city, there are 2 malls who do 100 crores a month. And Delhi has about 5 malls. Hyderabad has 3 malls who do 100 crores a month. So when you calculate, there are only 28. So Shailesh was supposed to be on this panel, but he couldn't be. So when I spoke to Shailesh Chaturvedi, he said, Ali, I can't make it, but I have one request. I want that list. I want to know who are those 28 malls. So that's an interesting aspect and interesting statistics at your disposal. But we're not going to discuss that here. But what we are going to discuss is why. Why there are only 28 malls and how have these gentlemen made it happen. So I want to reintroduce the panel. I would like to start with Mr. Aslam. So he has a mall, Sarath City Capital. He's one of the owners of that mall. It's 1.9 million square feet mall. Only Mr. Aslam Bhai, he has changed the dynamics. He doesn't do 100 crores, he does 200 crores a month. So he's like 2 billion rupees a month mall. And his highest sale in a particular month has been 260 crores. I mean, I know of malls in India, 350,000 square feet malls in India who do that business annually. We sold one of those malls. So they do a business of 260 crores per annum. So he did that in 1 month. And then, of course, we have Mr. Yogeshwar. He's part of DLF now. And DLF has a mall in India, the Mall of India, Noida, that does 200 crores a month sale. And even Select City Walk is somewhere close to that number, about 200 crores a month. So Yogeshwar has seen in his the previous company he was with, Select City Walk. That's how we know him, the hero of Select City Walk, and his current DLF portfolio. So they are the people who have made it happen. And then, of course, Rajendra Kalkar unfortunately couldn't make it. He was from Phoenix. Phoenix has the largest number of big billion malls in India. In fact, they are the pioneers of big billion malls in India. The Lower Parel Mall was the first mall to reach that number. And the reason I am talking about this is because we opened a new Forum Mall in South Bangalore, which became the youngest entrant to this list. And the fastest, actually, we made it in 1 year. And the Forum South Bangalore does 100 crores a month. So what is all about this romance? Then the billion name is very romantic and very difficult to get. So hence, let's understand from this gentleman, whom I will probe and understand from each other. And I'd like to start from Yogeshwar. 3 malls open in Saket. We all know that. This mall, the center one, reaches the big billion, fastest, in fact, now touching 2 billion, 200 crores a month. So this is something that people never spoke about. We always spoke about the size and so on and so forth. So, there are a few things which are going to change, some rules. Retailers say location, location, location. CBD malls have not reached 100 crores a month sale. Suburb malls have reached 100 crores sale. I mean, there are many. Most of the Phoenix malls, except for the Lower Parel, are in suburbs. And our own mall in Forum South Bangalore is not in the heart of the city. It's in Kanakpura Road, JP Nagar, Phase 2. So that is one. So your location, location, location theory didn't work as far as the big billion mall clubs are concerned. Second, size does matter? No, sorry, size didn't matter because there are several million square feet malls who are shut. They're not trading. There are several 1.2 million square feet, 1.4 million square feet mall where international brands have shut. The Spanish multinational giant have shut operations. And they are on the verge of shutting the doors. So size didn't matter. And The international brands didn't matter. Like I just said, the international brands have shut several million square feet malls, and they are operating out of several million square feet malls, yet they don't reach 100 crores, a billion sales a month. So this is a very tricky business, and I've been breaking my head around this. One of the reasons why we did the exit, because we wanted to be associated with big billion malls. So we'll start with Yogeshwar. With the statistics, I want to start with Yogeshwar. How Select City Walk made it? What made it reach the big billion number? Yogeshwar, all yours.
Thank you. So my name is Yogeshwar, and I work with DLF. And our one mall of India, Noida, has reached that number very, very quickly. So my previous job with City Walk, that also reached that number very quickly. There are many reasons. I mean, there cannot be one specific reason for reaching that number. But if I have to choose one reason, then the one reason would be the relevance of the brands being put together. So any catchment will have a lot of shopping happening any which ways, whether the mall exists or mall does not exist. But how do we draw those customers to the mall is the question. And the first and the foremost is the relevance of the brands to the consumers in that catchment. So selection of catchment, and then second point, the relevance of brands. Because every time we get surprised that the consumer is already arrived, the mall is behind. Supply is behind. So the consumers are already aware of the brands. They are evolved. They are looking forward to shop, but there are not enough shop options available. So in both cases, when I see, one has to have the relevance. Number two, agility is one point which stands out very quickly, that once you feel that there is something which is not working, how quickly we correct that is one of the another point. And third, if the direction is right, then the patience. Because sometimes, like Mall of India, Noida, took a little bit longer time, but the direction was right, and then one had to have patience to just sail through the initial challenges and consumer habits, and eventually it has started flourishing in a way which is like unexplainable.
So one thing about Select City Walk is, as we all would have noticed, he spoke about the relevance to the customer. It's not about thinking about it. Everybody have thought about it, about bringing the relevant brands and international brands, but Select City Walk kind of made it happen. How was that?
So as I mentioned, if we were able to zero down that these brands are relevant for the catchment. If we shift any mall 10 kilometers here and there, the same mall which is working very well may collapse completely. So one has to have some understanding of the catchment. What is the consumer we are looking at to bring into the mall? And what are the options they are looking at? Once that is clear, then one has to really be determined to give that offering to the consumer.
Determined.
Yeah.
That is the key word which worked for Select City Walk, because their determination got every single international brand that came to India first came to Select City Walk. I don't know how they managed to create space every single time. And how many brands? Yeah, we were looking at some 20, 25.
So, roughly 20, 21 brands started their India journey from that mall, purely because we felt that the catchment is ready and we could create space everybody is very reasonable. If we talk to the people in detail, and some brands were not performing, we had to really go to them and say.
I think that kind of worked. So really going after the non-performers and releasing the space for the newcomers and doing it with all options available, that is something that really worked for Select.
One more point which it struck me. Sometimes one has to see the picture in the long term. It may affect the balance sheet for that quarter. It may affect that P&L for that 1 quarter or 1 year or maybe 2 years. But eventually, where it's going to land up. In many malls, because I only know one job, so I know most of the malls. So I realized that many times people know what to do, but the short-term pain is so high that we are unable to see that short-term pain is only very, very limited. We have to see the larger picture in mind, and fortunately the team behind and the promoters, and as I mentioned, there are many, many reasons behind, so I was only one tiny part of it.
Also from Select's point of view, one thing which they do consistently is keep the consumer in mind and do something or other to attract one set of customer every day. Every day they have new events, activities to focus to just bring the customer back in.
Yeah, perfect. So now I would like to ask a question, Aslam Bhai, who doesn't very frequently come to these sessions. So firstly, thank you, Aslam Bhai, for taking your time out and coming to share with us, because you're officially the highest selling mall in South India. So tell me, sir, you opened a mall, 2.5 lakh square feet in Hyderabad. I don't know how many people know City Center Mall in Hyderabad, 2.5 lakh square feet, was opened by Aslam Bhai. From 2.5 lakh square feet, straight away to almost 2 million square feet. I mean, 19 lakh square feet mall, Sarath city capital. Like, if I have to tell my board, I want to open a 19 lakh square feet mall, it's not going to be easy convincing them. There are going to be a lot of questions. So Aslam Bhai here managed to do that. So Aslam Bhai, how did it happen? And did you even think that you will do 260 crores business in a month? Thoda kareeb rakh ke bol.
One is, as you have
Can I have
spoken-
a mic, please? Hand mic. Hand mic.
उसको पास ले आओ और पास ले आओ.
एक hand mic देना भाई. Please. Thank you.
So one point is very clear. One has to be humble and very soft spoken, no, to reach that number. Yeah.
Humble and spokesman. A big hand for that, please. Thank you. Yes, you have to be that.
Yeah.
Yes.
soft spoken.
बोलिए Aslam Bhai.
As you have said, after constructing 2,50,000 around mall at city center, then again jumping to about 2 million. Of course, it's an decision which we have taken, and we are confident with that thing. It will work, because city center is at one of the best location, and we struggled due to the size of that mall at that time. But at that time, it was the one of the best performing mall in the country, in the city. But after that, we have seen that we don't have scope for multiplex, we don't scope of hypermarket there, regular departmental stores and all. So we thought that we will do something very big, which will have all the ingredients of the mall. Like at that time, what it used to be called a mall. Hypermarket, multiplex, departmental stores, food courts. That is all shopping. It is all which comprise the mall. So we thought that we will put your sauce at some tadka on it.
The secret sauce.
Secret sauce.
Okay.
Everybody has that sauce of multiplex, of hypermarket, of departmental stores, food court. On that we have to put some tadka.
Okay.
So that it will come up with local flavor, with local culture and local thing. So that mall now has become, we have done something very new in that mall, apart from all those things, like in terms of FECs, in terms of zoning of the retail, which was very critical for us at that time. Whatever shop number we have fixed at the time of planning, we have stick to that ground, that fashion, ethnic and all, everything where we want from the first day till last day. We have waited for all those brands to happen to come at that location. That might be one of the thing which we have done consistently, and it is happened. And
how are you getting these footfalls, and how are you getting this turnover today? What is making it happen?
see, whoever comes in my mall, apart from multiplex, they used to spend 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
Because 1 hour is their travel time, sometimes getting in and out. So they spend usually 3 to 4 hours, the standard time. Some spend 6 to 7 hours also.
6 to 7 hours.
Yeah. So during this period, we have been taking care of all the family people,
All
children,
segments
kids,
of family.
kids playing in their zone, and family doing the shopping and leisure spaces and all. So I think the time they are spending in the mall, we are utilizing that time towards their shopping.
Okay.
So I think that might be one of the reasons to do such type of businesses.
So start with humility, patience, then determination,
Yeah.
and the large scale size. And of course, other gentlemen here were also part of that development. And yes, that's the recipe for being the #1 mall. There are about 300 malls in South India. To take the #1 spot is not easy, ladies and gentlemen. That is an amazing achievement. So now I'd like to go to Pramod. Now, of course, not in Sarath City Mall, but apart from Sarath City Mall, Mr. Pramod Arora, who heads PVR, is part of all the big billion malls. Like almost all big billion malls, PVR is there. And they're also the first guys to enter. And so let's hear from an operator, not just from the developer's point of view, but from an operator's point of view. Pramod, why do you think very few malls have made it? And what is it the difference? I mean, what are they doing different that's making them or reach that billion number and stay there?
Sure, let me try to put in a perspective which is more a retailer's perspective to it. First of all, I don't see Anjali or Amitabh also out here. It is like a election voter turnout. I mean, most of the tables are empty. So, election voter turnout bhi zyada hai isse to.
They were there in the beginning. Yeah.
Like the lunch khol diya bahar. So, as a retailer, we have been in good, not so good, and bad shopping centers. So there's no qualm in accepting the fact that we are there in bad shopping centers also as well. During the years of my experience, what we have basically realized is that a couple of things need to be taken into account. Each of the panelists out here did mention it in one way or the other. Like you mentioned when you started, you spoke about location. For the last 25 years, we have followed one simple process which is called DLD. We followed developer, location, development, not in any order with equal credescence. So if I can say that 33.33% to each one of them. A very great location can be screwed up if you have a bad development or a bad developer. And you can try to connect the dots in either order. Each would basically get the same credescence. You could have not so good location. If you have the right developer and the development, it has survived. Not only survived, it has thrived also as well.
Reached the big billion club.
Yeah. So typically, one of the things that went on, probably we never really followed it, that it is location. It is developer, location, and development, all of them. Then the second thing that always came to our mind was IFC, which is IFL, sorry. So IFL is another this thing that we used to follow: intention, finance, land, in order, in priority. You must have an intention to do a mall. You must have a finance to back it up, and then land comes the last. You will be able to find the land. If you do not have the intention, if you put it in the other order, you will fail. So this is what we usually try to evaluate. That,
so are you saying that, the people who have land just want to build mall? They put the land first, yeah?
So they put the land first.
Yeah.
If you're putting in the land first and you don't have an intent, you don't have an finance, so many of these then come up into the strata.
And many of them have pre-estimated returns they want from the land. That my land is this expensive, I need so much rent. It goes the wrong way.
So, that's the third point wherein we come in. CCC, which is customer in the center. So if you have the first two things right, which is DLD, post that IFL, and then you go to CCC, which is a customer in the center. So if you will look at people who have the right intent, they will always put the last customer, which is the customer who is buying from the mall in the center. And they're taking decisions for that customer. Now, we heard Aslam bhai when he spoke about that he wants his customer to stay far more than the time he spent to come and go. A great, this thing. You look at your malls, which Prestige has done over the years, it has also always not been looking at the monetization abilities. It has gone beyond that. You're keeping the customer in the center and then talking about the facilities or talking about the things that interest him, excite him, emotionally connect with him, engage with him, is what you will bring to the mall. It's difficult. It's not easy because many of these things have a factor of resilience, which most of the ones beyond those 27 or 30 billion malls would not be having. Resilience becomes a very important factor, wherein you have to be resilient to the initiative that you're bringing to the table. You evolve, you progress, and then you have to be resilient with what you are doing. Now, all these things together would actually make these billion malls happen more into the country. expecting that everyone would be able to do it or most of the malls would be able to do it would be a fallacy. Because if most of the malls would be able to do it, then, one, there is no competition, then everyone is talking the same language. It's not going to happen. So let's basically dissect this country into those parameters as you have dissected in this panel. There would be few of them who will basically catch up this dream, who have kept the customer in this thing. If you speak to Aslam bhai today, as we dig deeper, you will find that he was also looking at doing something for the city of Hyderabad. You will also find certain other things which have a social side to it, which is not only monetary. Money is a byproduct when you do a good thing. If you keep money in the first instance, then, the balance of the things do not fall right most of the times. They may, if you have a fluke or if you basically end up hitting a bullseye, it's like, playing a jackpot, and many a times a person does win the first game in a casino. That can happen, but it can only happen once. But if you keep customer in the center, it is bound to happen. It may happen over a period of time, but it is bound to happen.
For the simple reason
Ali,
being that every rupee of the 100 crores is coming from the customer. So
and
hence,
so, Ali, one point here. When we say the customer in the center, who has to keep that? Not the promoter, it's the leasing team. Leasing team is very critical. I gave this example yesterday as well, that if I, as a head of leasing, people think that I know a lot. But today, if I have to decide between a Prada Beauty or a Mani Beauty or a YSL Beauty or a Dior or Chanel, I'm not capable enough. So I have to have people in my team or at least on my bouncing board which can differentiate a brand and the relevance to the catchment. So many times, if you see the structure of the leasing team, there are people who are not the consumer of the mall. So then they end up only deciding on the rental per square feet or the availability. In human nature is lazy. So whatever comes first, we are easy to adopt that with the money without thinking that long term it will be a damaging proposition.
that point noted. But what Pramod also spoke about was, it's not always about monetizing, because there are many aspects of a development which is not for monetizing, where you won't get any revenues. It's not about business and sale. It's about experience. It's like what customers come for. So people have built lakes in mall. People have built a Center for Performing Arts, which we have built in Forum South Bangalore, 1,200-seater Center for Performing Arts. It's costed us a huge amount of money, and there's no money in art. So hence, it's to satisfy the customer and so on and so forth. So it's creating the experience and investing the extra to create an experience when people will come. And that's the problem with our country. Like, we don't have enough spaces where people can come out and enjoy, have fun, meet family, blend. So those opportunities are less. Now, so Shubhranshu, you have been the guy who's, opened these malls, like you, including Sarath City Walk, our malls, and then many DLF or Select City Walk. So you have been in your erstwhile position of heading the retail for Jones Lang LaSalle for longest time. So you have done these deals, you have mediated. So what do you think is different from these malls? Were their strategies different from day one? Because within the same group, without naming anybody, they have 10 malls, but only 5 of them have reached the Big Billion Club. Another 5 have not reached the Big Billion Club. So was there anything different that you saw in these Big Billion malls?
I think most malls do some sort of study to understand who is the target customer and what they want to offer. But there are two things which most of these big malls, billion-dollar malls do. They have a strict understanding on attention to detail. They know which brand they want and they are patient for it. They will wait for getting that brand in. Sometimes it takes years. Like Yogeshwar always makes space for new brands.
Aslam, yeah.
Aslam bhai keeps a store vacant. They also are ahead of their time and think what will work going forward, and they'll take the call today. So many of these malls will do zones or stores with a specific focus that we want to build. Like in Mall of India, they decided they'll build a zone for local retailers. Now that is something which is very difficult to lease in Indian market. But they were patient for it. They had the patience, they stuck to it for a long while. Eventually the customer will come. And more importantly, the business of 1 billion, you are the fastest one, but many took time. So you have to continuously engage with the consumer, keep it, get the same consumer back again and again, and make it a place for them to come and gather. for shopping and for being seen today. So I think these continuous work which they do, a lot of hard work goes into getting these billion malls. They can also slip and go back. So what I'm trying to tell you is that it's not only putting everything together and reaching that billion, but unless you keep continuing to deliver, continuing to serve the consumer, continuing to give him some freshness and change, and keeping it active every day, you're bound to step back. It will come back, in the sense backwards. So I think it is building it and continuing working on it daily.
In Hindi, they say, lambe race ka ghoda. So, it's like that. So you have put it out in front, so you have to be persistent, you have to be consistent, and you have to go after it and keep churning it until you get what the result is. Pankaj, you are currently in Anarock, but you spend a lot of time in Jones Lang LaSalle, but also you were part of mall developers, so you have seen both the sides. You have been from a mall developer, which is Virtuous Retail, and you were part of the team who opened the Chennai. And then you have seen with Jones Lang LaSalle now with Anarock. What is your view? Because from what we are hearing, we spoke about brands and being very particular about which brands and going all out to get the brands no matter what you have to do. And then being very patient. And we have spoke about consistency. We spoke about customers being the center point. And then, you create it for the customer. It's not always about return on investment. Is there something else that we have not discussed? Is there something that you have observed that these malls are special? Like everybody wants space there. All customers are going there. The highest sales per square feet is happening there. The highest selling stores, national and international brands, if you ask them which is the highest selling store in malls, they say it is these malls, in this. So why is it happening? And it's customers coming through customers. What is your observation?
See, as all the panelists have really already talked about in terms of, the tadka which is required, there is a focus area, there is a development cycle. Let me take a very different view in terms of telling you why a lot of them don't work and why only few work. And as you rightly said, I was part of a shopping center business. I ran a company which owned shopping centers. To just give you two anecdotes, Zara, every mall developer in this country makes a plan, and whether the mall is in the middle of nowhere wants a Zara store there. Because we all know that Zara is probably one of the benchmarks of great performance. But they've shut down one store in India. And I was unfortunately part of that shopping center when they shut down that store. And I tried my best, but they had to shut it down. So they shut down one store in India since they've been here in India, and they shut it down in the shopping center where I was. Louis Vuitton, considered the benchmark of luxury in India, right? In the world. And they opened a store in Chennai and they shut down that store, right? So they've shut down a store in India as well. Such globally successful brands go and shut stores. There is a reason. I think a lot of the reason is the success story everybody tries and does a copy paste. Every mall developer, every mall aspirational owner, as Pramod was saying, landowner wants to come in and start setting up a mall. He wants and says, listen, I'll also get a Zara, I'll get a Tommy Hilfiger, I'll get the bestseller. And that's why a lot of the malls become a reflection of each other. But there are only few succeed. I remember when this was when I was at Jones Lang, and we used to, we were doing the leasing advisory for Mall of India. There's a lot of time which went in and spent at that time. Remember, at 10 o'clock in the morning, every Tuesday, it was fixed in the calendar for 1 year, wherein 6 people used to sit in that room and only talk about what is going to be the leasing plan for that shopping center. It was from 10 o'clock in the morning till 1:30 in the afternoon. It was right from the top. So it is not somebody which is left to anybody. It was Miss Savitri Singh, who's the owner family, who runs the rental business of the company. The CEO at that point of time, Mr. Sanka Pushpa, who was the mall head at that point of time, and now leads the retail business. It was us as a Jones Lang, me and one of my colleagues. And in 5 hours or 4 hours, we should just sit down and just strategize to just debate. And it was only a debate and a discussion in saying what will need to be going to this mall. Filling it was very easy at that point of time as well, because it was DLF, it was NCR, but it could have been done. So today, to make a 200 crore or 100 crore mall, you have to also see what went behind it. And then I gave the example of a Zara. Sometimes you may you may have the recipe. You can go to YouTube and make like you want to make a bhel puri, you can go to YouTube and make a bhel puri. But will it turn out to be great tasting? No. It's only some places which turns out to be bad. So you have to really go and sit and analyze in saying, what is required in my market? My focus should be there. My entire, like as Yogeshwar said, and even Pramod said, and Devanshu and Aslam Bhai really put it in his very polite way, is you have to think first. And in that thinking strategy, that has to translate to implementation and has to keep carrying on. That strategy cannot be wavering. And I find that the majority of the places it gets to be wavering. What you think and plan for, and when you get it operational, and after 5 years, people are looking at it very differently. When the entire story is not about putting the right brands in, I think the entire story is about putting the entire movie together. It's not putting one good song in the movie and the movie will run. You have to really think in saying, what is the plot? Whom I'm building this movie for? Who's going to be the audience? How are they going to go watch it? How the reviews are going to be from there or 2 or 3 years, 5 years down the line. So I think it's a lot about putting all those things together, putting a lot of the hard work before it is implemented. Everybody just comes in with plans, and I can tell you, I mean, we've been part of it. Me and Shubhranshu have been part of a lot of these 600 malls, and we can be blamed at some time as well. Is because everybody wants the same recipe. It cannot be the same recipe. You have to have a touch of differentiation. Whether it's a performing arts theater, whether it's about knowing your catchment, whether it is about having the patience and saying, am I creating this for my catchment like Aslam Bhai saying, or I'm creating it for the larger Hyderabad city? Do I want to, have you sat with PVR and said, listen, 10-screen cinema, why not a 5-screen cinema? Why a 6-screen cinema? What is the configuration? I don't think most of people spend, promote with you and probably with your team to debate out the discussion. They just come back and say, listen, how many screens you want to do? Let's go and do it. Without actually thinking and saying, listen, I am planning this market. This is market which I know. I'm investing 500 crores. I also want you to spend time with me to explain why we're going to do the cinema and how big are we going to do it. So I think a lot of the time is to be spent in planning, understanding that market, and also having a focused strategy to see through it. Malls typically break even in about 9 to 10 years, Ali. Probably 9 to 10 years. So think about it. It takes about 4 years minimum to build a mall and 10 years further after opening to make. So it's 14 years you're talking about. So you have to have a strategy which lasts more than 14 years to start making money. So that's a question you need to answer.
So thank you for that. So that's an interesting insight. Time is up. I would like to just end by saying something which I would like to add, and then we will probably ask 1 or 2 questions very quickly, unless any of you want to add something.
So, follow it up with a sequel next year, Mall with a Billion Smiles.
Yeah, so hence customer is already in front. So I would like to, Peter Drucker's quote that around this big billion consumption, we are talking about consumption, if everybody only bought what they need in life, if only when you go to a mall, you go to a supermarket, you go to anywhere outside to your local kirana or your local neighborhood strip, if people bought only what they need, the economy of the world will collapse. That's Peter Drucker for you. So 80% of things that we buy, and I've said this many times, we buy things that we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like. So that's what shopping is all about. Consumption is all about, So it's largely impulsive. We buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like. So give them reasons to celebrate life, create that culture, create the atmosphere where they are comfortable, they come, they like. Sometimes they say, let's meet somewhere. Where? There. Okay, 2 people agree. That's it. I mean, that's the destination. And unfortunately in India, malls are those addresses. So when that happens, impulsively, shopping happens. Somewhere around it, business happens. So that is a small part from my side. Maybe we can just take 1 question. Okay, 1 question. Anybody wants to ask anything to any of the people here around this? Anybody? Okay, there is one gentleman who wants to ask a question. Can we reach a mic there? Here, madam. Here. Yes, sir, please introduce yourself and ask a question.
Hi, I'm audible. Hi, everyone. This is Ashish Patil from Pune. I'm just curious to know how much is a conversion ratio. Let's say if a mall has a 100,000 footfall on a weekend, how many of them actually turn out to be spending and or buying or eating or whatever, right?
Yogeshwar, you want to take that?
You want an, you want an honest answer?
Of course.
No one knows.
That's the point, right? I think there has to be some mechanism when we talk about all this mall
Okay, what's the
economics.
benchmark? What's the benchmark?
There is a way to find tentatively, I mean, not to 100% accuracy, but there is a possibility. For example, 100 people walk in a shopping center, and then you have to do a little bit of hard work that how many invoices has been cut in that shopping center, and then you have to take an average of that one person at least visiting 2 stores or 3 stores, then you can arrive at a trend number, and the trend is good enough. We don't want to know 100%. Even if we know the trend, then we can actually come to a conclusion.
So give a number. Now. What's the trend like? He wants to know a percentage.
So, Ali, that conversion is not possible. So, one of the progressive malls or not so progressive malls in Bangalore tried to do that, wherein they came out to a 100% conversion ratio by putting a ticket price, entry price to a mall. It happened in Bangalore.
Yeah, but I mean, the way forward I feel is that footfall, I mean, every mall is running after footfall, which is definitely one of the most important criteria. But some of the malls have reached a stage that year-on-year growth is not practically possible because there is that much number of cars can come in at that point in time. There's that much of road infrastructure outside. So now the stage is also coming, which I can foresee clearly, that some of the malls have to start looking at a better consumer experience and a higher spending power consumers, not just running after the footfall, because just having footfalls have very little meaning. Yeah.
Absolutely. So so it is a lesser number than what it is elsewhere in more developed countries, where people go to malls specifically to buy and when they need to buy, and so our numbers range between about 10 to 20% based on how the malls are performing. So which means about 80% is not buying anything, but most of them eat. So hence still business happens.
As long as somebody spend even a 10 rupees is a customer.
Yeah. But it's not about as long as somebody is spending that time. It's not about that. As long as people are coming, as long as people will take back memories, as long as people will remember, because when they give into that, buying things you don't need, money you don't have, impress, so somewhere they want to impress someone they don't like. The moment you don't like somebody, I want to go impress him. So hence that time he'll come back, and that day he will be part of the 20%. So it's okay if 6 times he's part of 80%.
Sorry, he has a very good question, but I mean, just to add one more thing, there are many perspectives. So when one of the mall opened, the girl who was 12 years old, she was not a consumer, but she was just floating with the family. So she was a footfall, but not conversion and all. But within 7 years, she became such an important consumer. She completed chartered accountancy. She got married. I mean, all these adds up slowly. So one has to have patience. Relevance and patience are the game. Yeah.
Okay, I think we are done. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, the hall filled up, Pramod. And then...
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.